Well, good morning and welcome to the Quest Church. Let's stand to our feet. Let's sing together this morning. To those of you joining us online, we're so excited that you've tuned in with us. Come on, let's sing this out. It's our God, a firm foundation, our rock, the only solid ground. As nations rise and fall, kingdoms once strong now shaken, we trust forever in your name, the name of Jesus. We trust the name of Jesus. You are the only King forever. Almighty God, we lift you higher. You are the only King forever, forevermore. You are victorious. You are the only King forever. Almighty God, we lift you higher. You are the only King forever, forevermore. You are victorious. Let's sing this out. Unmatched in all your wisdom, in love and justice you will reign, and every knee will bow. We bring our expectation, our hope is anchored in your name, the name of Jesus. Oh, whoa, we trust the name of Jesus. You are the only King forever. Almighty God, we lift you higher. You are the only King forever, forevermore. You are victorious. You are the only King forever. Almighty God, we lift you higher. You are the only King forever, forevermore. You are victorious. All right, Quest Church, you guys ready? Let's sing it loud. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. We lift our banner high. We lift the name of Jesus. From age to age you reign. Your kingdom has no end. We lift our banner high. We lift the name of Jesus. From age to age you reign. Your kingdom has no end. put those hands together. Let's sing this out. Your voice can make the darkness turn to light. Your word can bring the hopeless heart to life. You speak and mountains tremble, the earth and sun stand still. No one can comprehend your endless mind. And who am I that you would find me here? The maker of the heavens knows my name. The author of the oceans gave me grace. My soul will never sing your praise. And Almighty God, and Almighty God.
Your touch can set the weary captive free. Oh, your love has changed the course of history.
And with your arms wide open, you gave your life to save. The hands that formed creation were pierced for me that day. You're the maker of the heavens knows my name. The author of the oceans gave me grace. And my soul will never sing your praise. It's Almighty God. It's Almighty God. Come on, push church. Come on, let's declare this together. Who am I that you would find me here? Who am I that love would draw me near? Who am I that you would die to save a broken soul like mine? Who am I? Oh, who am I that the maker of the heavens knows my name? The author of the oceans gave me grace. And my soul will never sing your praise. It's Almighty God. It's Almighty God. It's Almighty God. It's Almighty God. Yeah, it's Almighty God. Hey!
Oh, man, it's a good day. Good day. Hey, Quest Church, you can have a seat. If you're tuning in online, you can have a seat as well or crawl back into bed, whatever you were up to when you tuned in. Hey, my name is Aaron Larimore, and I'm the youth pastor here. Man, thank you so much for tuning in and being here with us. We recognize that right now you have a ton of options when it comes to church online. And so the fact that you landed here means the world to us. The moment you opened up this screen and you joined us, you became a part of our extended family, and that just means so much to us. And it's good to see some people in the room today. It's so awesome to see real live human beings here. It's awesome, man. Hey, a couple of things for you guys and for those of you watching online. If you're here today, inside of your worship guide, there's this communication card. You probably forgot what that looks like because we haven't done that in a couple weeks, but it's back. I need you guys to take that on the backside and fill out your prayer request. Let us know how we can pray for you this week. Maybe you got something coming up this week, or maybe some things have happened and you need some prayer. Man, we are still sending these prayers out to a prayer team, and we're joining you and praying and doing whatever we can to help you. If you're tuning in online, if you'll jump over to thequestchurch.com, about halfway down on our homepage there, you're going to see a spot where you can submit a prayer request. And so please do that. If it's something that you don't want everybody to know about, our whole prayer team, there's a spot there where you can put confidential, and then only our lead pastor, Jim, will see that, and your gathering pastor as well. But that's just our way that we can keep up with you and be praying for you. If there's something that we can help you with, there's a button there that says help. Click that, fill that out, let us know what we can do to help you out. And then if you are prepared to give, you can do that on our app or online. If you're here today, you can still give through our .com box as well. Man, if you're wondering, what am I going to do with the kids during this time? This has kind of been going on, and what do they got going on for the kids and the teens? Our Kids Quest team is doing a ton of stuff on YouTube. So if you've got children in that elementary age and under, man, go over to the Kids Quest YouTube page, subscribe to that. There's a lot of great content on there. And for our teens, man, our 7th grade through 12th grade, we've got a Teen Quest YouTube channel. Love for you guys to go subscribe to that. A lot of great content there. And then join us in praying as we begin to process some things about how we're going to open up some of our children's ministries again. You are joining us today. This is the second week of a quarantine message. I'm really excited about today's message because our lead pastor, Jim Dunn, is unpacking what quarantine family looks like. And I know for me, it's definitely been a challenge. It's had its ups and downs, and so you're in for a treat. But before we get into that, I could use some more music. How about you guys here in the building? Y'all could use some more music. Guys, I'm kind of in a country mood today. Y'all know any country? Can we do some country? Let's do some country.
Oh, yeah. You guys ready? Come on. The only ground I ever owned was sticking to my shoes. Now I look out on my front porch at this panoramic view. I can sit and watch the fields fill up, the rays of golden sun. Watch the moon lay on the fences like that's where it was hung. My blessings are in front of me, it's not about to land. I'll never beat the view of my front porch looking in. There's a carrot top who can barely walk with a sippy cup of milk. A little blue-eyed blonde with her shoes on wrong 'cause she likes to dress herself. The most beautiful girl holding both of them. And the view I love the most is my front porch looking in. I traveled here and everywhere, following my job. I've seen the paintings from the air, brushed by the hand of God. The mountains and the canyons reach from sea to shining sea. But I can't wait to get back home for the one he made for me. 'Cause anywhere I'll ever go and everywhere I've been, it takes my breath away like my front porch looking in. There's a carrot top who can barely walk with a sippy cup of milk. A little blue-eyed blonde with her shoes on wrong 'cause she likes to dress herself. The most beautiful girl holding both of them. And the view I love the most is my front porch looking in. I see what beautiful is about. I'm looking in now when I'm looking out. There's a carrot top who can barely walk with a sippy cup of milk. A little blue-eyed blonde with the shoes on wrong 'cause she likes to dress herself. Those beautiful girls holding both of them. And the view I love the most. Oh, and the view I love the most is my front porch looking in. There's a carrot top who can barely walk. I'm blonde with the shoes on.
I made a color-coded chart. It'll track your hourly progress for the next 4 weeks. Dude, get a paper towel.
We're out of paper towels.
Okay, we're gonna start the day by reading for an hour. Then I want you to come to me and give me a summary of what you've learned. Are you watching Love is Blind?
I'm learning that relationships are built on trust, and you can't learn this in school.
Okay, yeah, fine.
We are gonna make math fun. It's not mathematics, it's mathemagic. Watch as I make this coefficient disappear. How do you not understand PEMDAS? In my day, we split these up and did long division over here. Wait, this is wrong.
There may not be PE or team sports, but we're still gonna get exercise. Fine, TikTok dances are exercise. Sure. You guys are gonna do daily chores, okay? Could you guys just flush the toilet? Could that be a thing we do?
Hey, what are you gonna do while I edit for the next 4 hours?
I'm gonna get ahead of my studies.
What are you doing while I'm working?
Playing Xbox.
Okay.
I can't wait to make you a nutritious lunch every day. I mean, it's all about gut health, you know?
There's nothing but toilet paper in the pantry.
Toilet paper has fiber, good for the gut, keeps things moving. I worked hard for that toilet paper. I had to fight like 47 moms to get that roll. Enjoy.
Good night, buddy. Remember, we're gonna maintain our normal sleep schedule.
Okay.
You guys, you know what? We need to see this as a gift, as a time to come together as a family in a way we never have. We can really take charge of your education and just be like a family unit in a way that like we never have. If you guys don't give me 1 second of peace, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Ah, yes, the quarantine family. How has that gone for you? You know it? My name is Jim Dunn. I'm the lead pastor here at the Quest Church. As Aaron said, thanks for those of you who are in the room. We are glad to have you back. Thanks to those of you who are in whatever room you're in of your home, tuning in online. We appreciate you as well. Thanks for spending this time with us this morning. And, you know, I don't have to tell you if you have children, if you have a family, that this quarantine thing has brought some overnight, unexpected, and maybe unwanted lifestyle changes to every family, and the impact of it continues to play out for us. You know, we went from going off to work to possibly staying home from work. And I think if you're a person, you know, with your job, that was like a dream. You thought, man, if I could ever just work from home and not have to make the commute into Dallas, or, you know, have that a little more free time around the house, that'd be fantastic. But you didn't think the kids were going to be there all day with you, right? Like that wasn't a part of the plan. And so you were home all day, but the kids were home all day too. We went from this crazy schedules where we were running and we had lots of stuff to do, and often it seemed like we had too much to do in the evenings, and now we're home in the evenings and there's nowhere to go and nothing's open and nothing that we can do, and the kids are still there. They were there in the day, they're there in the evening, they're there through the night. They're just always there now when we're used to sending them away. And we had this schedule that, you know, kept us running like crazy, and now we have no schedule and we're all bored and we don't know what to do with our time. And I know I've talked to some moms who've dealt with this. It's the meals that have been the problem, right? Like, you never intended to feed your children 3 meals a day. It was like, well, grab a honey bun in the morning, we'll get you their food. Thank God for cafeteria workers at school, and then we'll pick up some fast food on the way home. And you had to make meals as a part of this. And so life has been turned upside down. I do think that we've got great new respect for 2 groups of people. Certainly for the teachers of our children, right? Like now you respect, I hope you're going to be kinder to the teachers when they go back to school one day, because you did not enjoy spending all day with your own children. Imagine how the teachers feel about spending all day every day with your children. And so teachers, credit to you. We recognize how powerful and wonderful you are. And then I know, everybody's got their own philosophy about this, but there's a greater respect for homeschool people, isn't there? I mean, you probably called up some of your friends and went, you know what? I never understood why you did that homeschool thing, but now I need to know how to do it. Can you help me out? And try to figure that out. And so homeschool people, hats off to you, because you were like, hey, this is our life. We live it every day, and you've managed to do that well. And the rest of us were like, I don't know how we're ever going to do that. And so I think this is probably true. How many parents are now, you're looking for, you're going to buy a bigger house and at least 100 acres of land? Because if there's ever another one of these, you want room. It's like, we have got to be able to spread out, okay? We got to be able to get some distance, because there was way too much togetherness for the quarantine family, I've talked to some wonderful families from our church, getting their insights on how this has impacted them. And one of the things I've discovered, even some of the most wonderful families in our church that I know love their kids and lead their children well, and who would definitely say, Jim, I love my kids unconditionally. They've discovered that under certain conditions, they don't even like their kids. They're like, I thought I loved them unconditionally until I was trapped with them in the house 24/7. And I realized I'm not even sure I like those little urchins that I share the home with. All right. So life has been different for the quarantine family, no doubt. And I want to share an opinion with you today. And it's just my opinion, and you take it or leave it as always, but I think the pre-quarantine family, before all this set in, was out of balance. And please understand, folks, you're watching. My kids are all grown now, so I didn't have to live through this with kids at home. My youngest is 22 up through 28. And it was true in my lifetime too. But as I look around and see young families today especially, I'd say the family life's out of balance. We're overscheduled, and that often leaves us feeling overwhelmed, and many times, if we're just honest, overreacting. Because when you're overscheduled and everything, is overwhelming, and the calendar is so full, and you're running, and we got to be here then and pick up then and go there, and then any little thing that happens can lead to an overreaction. And I see the pre-quarantine family somewhat out of balance. Whereas the quarantine family wound up at home all the time, stuck inside a lot of the time because it rained. Did you notice that? Not only were we stuck at home, but it rained and we were stuck inside a lot of the time. But by force, if not by choice, involved with each other, spending more time together, a little slower pace, and able to interact with each other on a different level. And I think for many families, that felt out of balance, and we kind of make fun of it, and we laugh about some of these things because that felt out of balance, because we had come to accept our pre-quarantine schedule and craziness and chaos as the normal, and accept that as the way it just was. And I'd like to suggest to you that there's an opportunity as we emerge from this crisis and this quarantine to resist the pull of culture, to return to this normal in your family that maybe wasn't ever meant to be the normal in the first place. I was doing some research for this message and reading through some different things, and I ran across just a little blog post from a children's minister at a church in California. It's not somebody that I would think you would know. I didn't know. But what she wrote was really powerful. Her name's Lisa Strew at White Rock Church, and she said this: among other things, I hope parents have seen how overscheduled their kids were, how dependent they had become on man-made distractions, how little time they actually had before the quarantine for their kids on a personal and individual basis, how cluttered their marital life had become with external activities, how routine and shallow the interaction had become as a couple. Because when it comes to the values and priorities of your family, forget what culture dictates. The culture has never really been a friend of families or an ally to married couples. And I'd like for you to read that again. Listen to that again. The culture has never really been a friend of families or of married couples. The culture would force you into some things that at the end of the day might not be healthy, might not be beneficial to your family. Lisa wraps up those thoughts by saying, although there are many legitimate things within it that may have their place, just make sure once you're back out there, you enjoy these things on your terms. And man, I think the quarantine family, as we emerge from that, has an incredible opportunity to push the reset button and find a balance that you enjoy on your terms and resist the pull of culture to go right back in to an overscheduled, overwhelmed, overreacting lifestyle, if that's what defined you before. And so I want to present you with 3 questions today, okay? I want to give you these questions. I think they're challenging questions. They may even be somewhat convicting questions, but I hope that you'll receive them in love. Because it's not my intent to criticize or condemn, okay? At the end of the day, the lifestyle and the rhythm and the balances that you choose for your family, that's your business, okay? But I'm just concerned as a guy who's a little older now. You guys are like, a lot older, Pastor Jim. All right, okay, a little older now, that we may have let the culture dictate some lifestyle patterns and balances that really aren't helpful or healthy for us at all. And the quarantine that we've been through provides a great opportunity for us to rethink that and to maybe even reset, okay? And so to set the stage for that, I want to take you to a passage of Scripture, a reference that you've probably seen before. As a matter of fact, I would bet that at least 1/3 of the people in the room and watching online, that you've got this Scripture quote displayed somewhere in your house. Maybe even some of you have this tattooed on your body. I think I've seen it before. And so I'll bring it up in a minute, but when I do, as a matter of fact, if you have this tattooed on your body and you're one of the first 3 people to send me a picture of that, now caveat that it's in a place you can appropriately send me a picture of that, okay? Like, I don't want to violate my conscience to see your tattoo. But if you have this tattoo on your body somewhere and you're one of the first 3 people to send me a picture, I'll give you a $10 Amazon gift card for playing along, okay? So, and then those of you who you won't have it displayed in your home, you don't have a tattoo, I still bet you've seen this displayed somewhere, even if you didn't quite remember what it was, all right? So before we bring it up, I'll just clue you in. It's Joshua 24:15. Anybody know what that is in the room, at home, a few of y'all? Anybody got that tattooed on them in the room? No? All right, online, email me, jim@thequestrc.com, if you have this reference where Joshua says, as for me and my family, many translations say, me and my house is the way you may have heard it, we will serve the Lord. As for me and my family, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Now, I bet you've seen that, heard that somewhere before. I want to give you just a little background. When Joshua makes this statement, he is the leader of the entire nation of Israel. Joshua was the successor to Moses. Moses goes, the people of Israel have been slaves in Egypt for 400 years. Moses leads them out of slavery. Pharaoh, let my people go, and brings them out of slavery. And then when Moses leaves the scene, he passes the torch to Joshua. And Joshua leads the people into the promised land. And now Joshua is about to leave the scene as their leader. And in Joshua chapter 24, where we read this quote, there's actually a bigger context where Joshua is challenging the people of Israel to continue to serve the Lord, the one who brought them out of slavery of Egypt. When he says this, he may be standing before more than 1 million people who have all gathered together, this nation of Israel. And what you might not know is what's behind this declaration by Joshua. You see, in this moment, Joshua is challenging the Israelite people to reject the influence of the culture that they've come out of. In Egypt, they had been surrounded by and pulled by a culture that worshiped all kinds of different supposed gods, little g gods. And in Egypt, they'd been exposed to the idea that there's a God for everything. They're coming into a new land now, the land of the Amorites, and he's challenging them to resist the pull of a culture that worships all kinds of gods, and particularly idols, who have an idol to everything, and you carve out a little statue, and you set that up on your mantle of your fireplace, and you bow down before it. And Joshua makes this declaration as he challenges them to resist the pull of the culture of their past and their future. As a matter of fact, I'd like you to read that whole section. Open up your Bible this week. Get out your phone, the Bible app on your phone, and open it up to Joshua chapter 24 and read verses 1 through 28 to get this whole context as Joshua presents this. You're going to discover that Joshua is not at all confident in their ability to resist the pull of the culture because it's so strong. But here's the little bit of lead up to when Joshua makes his declaration. He says, "So fear the Lord and serve him wholeheartedly. Put away forever your idols of your ancestors that they worshiped when they lived beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord alone. But if you refuse to serve the Lord, well, choose today whom you'll serve. Would you prefer the gods of the Amorites, or your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates? Or will it be the gods of the Amorites in whose land you now live?" And then Joshua says, "But as for me and my family," listen, in the context, where there are options of who we will serve. There's the gods of the Egyptians that we've been exposed to, and that pull. And there's the gods of the Amorites, the culture that we're now entering into, and there's that pull. And we're going to make a choice, my family, that we're going to serve the Lord. And I'd just like to suggest, I'd like you to consider that as families, you have a choice now as you emerge from quarantine on par with, as important as, this choice that Joshua presented the nation of Israel with. Because the choices that you make right now in this moment will determine the trajectory of your family for the future, and what influences, what culture dictates how you're going to live moving forward. The post-quarantine family. So I want to ask you 3 questions against that backdrop. 3 questions that align with this declaration that Joshua made and the questions that he presented to the people of Israel. Number 1 is this: who will lead your family to serve the Lord? If we're willing to make this declaration, if you're going to hang it on your house, if you're going to tattoo it on your body, if we're going to say, "Jim, my family's going to serve the Lord," who's going to lead your family to do that? See, in this declaration, it's clear that Joshua is taking responsibility to lead his family to serve the Lord. In the face of the culture that we've come out of and the culture that surrounds us, I'm making a statement that I will lead my family to serve the Lord. I'd like to ask families, what impact has the quarantine had on the spiritual climate in your household? You know, this is the 11th week now that we have not been able to offer children's ministry or Teen Quest ministry here at our church. Children and teens have not been able to attend our Sunday programs. We had to skip over a 7-week Connect Group semester where parents would have met in homes throughout the community. And on Wednesday nights, those that chose to, we would have offered a program here at the church for the children. And 75 to 100 children participate in that. And it's not just a child care program. There's a spiritual component to that. Our children's ministry team provides a lesson and enhances what we've been learning on Sunday through the Wednesday night program. We're going to have to cancel a couple of the spiritual high water marks for our kids and teens this summer. There will be no summer camps this year, no Kids Quest camp and no Teen Quest camp this year for our kids. And those are other times when we make a spiritual investment in our kids. So who's led your family to serve the Lord during this time? Who's been guiding your children's spiritual development? You know, the culture that we live in promotes the idea that that's the church's job. That we take our kids to school to get them some education, and we take our kids to church to get them some Jesus. And we let other people take care of their education, both, scholastically and spiritually, if you will. And so, during this pandemic, how much Jesus did your kids get? Who's guided their spiritual development when you can't take them to church? What if the church didn't exist? I mean, I certainly pray that's never the case. But we've just gone through a time where for your children's spiritual development in the way that we had known it as normal, that opportunity was not there anymore. And so what if how much Jesus they get is totally dependent on how much Jesus you provide for them as their parents? Now, I hope, and I have seen and heard great stories of parents who have stepped up in this area, who have taken greater responsibility for their children's spiritual development, who've done things that were not the normal before because they knew that that was such an important part of their children's influence, their spiritual influence. And folks, that's powerful because you were always intended to be the primary spiritual influencer in your children's lives. The Apostle Paul said it this way in his letter to the Ephesians. He said, "Fathers, do not provoke your children to anger by the way you treat them, but rather bring them up with discipline and instruction that come from the Lord." Discipline and instruction guided by our commitment to serve the one true Lord. And the church's role has always been meant to be in support of your spiritual leadership. Matter of fact, let me just give you the underlying philosophy, the foundation of both our children's and our teen ministry here at the Quest Church. Our goal is to provide a program that is so exciting and so encouraging and so engaging for your teens and your children that it makes them want to serve with you the Lord that you're committed to serving. Understand? That's the goal, folks. You brought your child or your teen to church in the ideal scenario. You said by bringing them to church, the statement was, whether you said it out loud or not, we want to serve, we value, we believe in the Lord that they talk about at this church. And we're committed as a family to serving that Lord. So we go to church together. We want, when your child or teen comes to the church then with you, to have such a great experience, for it to be exciting, for it to be fun, for it to be encouraging to them, for it to be equipping to them, that they want to join you in serving the Lord that you're committed to serve. That's the win for us, that we strengthen your family's commitment to serve the Lord together. I want your children to value that as you value that and lead them in it. We want to be your partner. You know, I'm so thankful for church experiences in my kids' life. And as I said, I have 4 children that are all grown now, and 3 of those married and making their own way. But I'm so thankful for church experiences it made my kids want to serve the Lord that their mother and I had chosen to serve. We had a great church in Kansas that we were a part of that had no children's ministry, but the people of that church committed to having a great children's ministry. It started with just my kids. They were literally the only ones in the program. And it grew to an incredible program my kids loved and look back on with great memories. We're a part of a fantastic church that's our sending church, the Family Fellowship of Greenville. Incredible children's ministry and leaders who invested in our kids' lives and made them excited about coming to church. Since we've come to the Quest Church, we've gotten to be a part of a church now with incredible people from babies all the way through the teenage years, who give their time and serve so wonderfully with our children. And my children love this church. They're part of a group of, on any given Sunday before the quarantine, 40% of our church will be under the age of 18. And so they're a part of this ministry where so many have invested in their lives and made them value serving God as a family with us. And now they do that in return. And I'll tell you, one of the most fulfilling things a father could possibly have, and a mother, my wife too, is for our children to now be serving the Lord and building homes where they say, as for me and my family, we're going to serve the Lord. You know, a church that our partner in that has made an incredible difference. But Meredith and I never expected the church to be the primary spiritual leaders of our children. We knew that was our job. You know, we never had the church completely taken away from us like has happened these past 10, 11 weeks. But we've been in seasons of our ministry where the church had no children's ministry program, or where my kids were the only kids in the program. And we always knew it started with us and depended on us. So for the past 11 weeks, folks, when the church hasn't been able to be your partner in the same way we were, who has led your family to serve the Lord? The win for our children's ministry and our Teen Quest ministry is when your family serves the Lord together, when they are a partner with you in your child's spiritual development. You know, the thing that has encouraged our Teen Quest and Kids Quest leaders and workers the most during this painful time for them, and I want you to understand that, it's been painful for them to not be able to be engaged in the lives of your children because they love your kids. And I have literally sat with our Teen Quest and Kids Quest leaders as they wept over how much they miss your children. And the thing that has encouraged them the most is seeing you respond to all the content they've worked so hard to put out there. And when you got involved in the games and the challenges and the lessons and the studies and the things that they put out there, when they saw you as the parents engage with your children and they were still able to be a partner with you in that, I'm telling you, that's why they've kept doing this stuff that has been very challenging for them. The encouragement is when they see you and your family serving the Lord together. How much Jesus your children got during this shutdown? Well, it had a lot to do with how much Jesus you provided for them. And it will still, even when things open back up. Who will lead your family to serve the Lord? Here's the second question. What gods will you serve? See, as we come out of quarantine, your family has an incredible opportunity to kick some little g gods to the curb. And I know you would say, Jim, we don't have any gods. We don't worship other gods. We believe in the one true God, the creator of the heaven and earth. We believe in Jesus Christ as his son. But you know, folks, there's an undeniable fact that our God is really revealed by whom or what receives our greatest attention and devotion. By whom or what really gets the most of our time and our energy. I heard a statement years ago that has just stuck with me. It was the question that if you were put on trial for being a Christian, would there be enough evidence to convict you? And for those of us who would hang on our wall or display on our tattoo or embrace this idea that as for me and my family, we will serve the Lord, how is that reflected? How's that reflected in our time, in our finances, in our schedules, in our commitments? Is there enough evidence to convict us of being a family that serves the Lord? And I want to step on some toes today, but I hope you know I do that in love. But as I look around our world today and our culture, it seems that competitive events for the kids have become the god of our culture. And I say that because our schedule and our finances and our family connection And even so often, our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations become consumed by our kids' involvement in competition. And our lives are dictated and revolve around whatever these competitive events might be. And man, I hope this shutdown, with those things off the table for the past 10 to 12 weeks, would cause us just to look at that and see if this devotion to competition is really a benefit, if it's really healthy for our children, or if we're just serving a God of our culture. Because, folks, here's the truth, okay? Here's what I need to say in love. When we position competition as the most important things in our lives, by our schedule and our finances and our family connections, all revolve around, and our performance expectations that we put on our children as a part of that competition, what our kids discern is that that's our God, that that's what's most important in life. And I say that again, not to criticize or condemn, because I know what it means to be that dad. I was that dad. I'm the dad, man. My son is 6 years old, and we're playing in a coach pitch little league baseball at the time. I've only got 6 players. I'm the coach. And so I form an infield with my 6 players of age. I convince the other team to let me have my older son play the entire outfield just so we can play the game. We're not supposed to keep score, but you know I'm keeping score, right? Even though we're playing with a half the team there. I'm yelling at my older son because he's not playing the outfield all by himself well enough. And then my younger son is playing shortstop, and he gets hit in the nose by a ground ball. His nose is bleeding. Tears start to come out of his eyes. I go over and I look at him, and I say, son, you're just going to have to suck it up because we don't have enough players to take you out of the game. And what I said to my son in that moment in reality was, this game is more important than you. This game is more important to me than your hurt and your pain and what you're feeling right now. And you talk about convicting. You talk about challenging. I got to give credit to a former major league catcher named Jim Sundberg. I'm a little older, so I don't know if you know Jim Sundberg. He was an all-star catcher for late 70s, almost all of the 80s. I think he retired in 1989. Spent 10 years with the Texas Rangers. He won a World Series in 1985 with the Kansas City Royals. And so in 2006, I believe it was, I took my oldest son to a baseball camp at the ballpark in Arlington that was run by Jim Sundberg. And as a part of that camp, at one point, Jim Sundberg sat down with just us parents that were there, and he began to just kind of share a very personal testimony with us about the resentment he had felt for his father over many years because, and these weren't his words, but in essence, his dad had made baseball their God and had pushed Jim and the performance expectations, and everything revolved around Jim's father's commitment to making Jim a Major League Baseball player. And Jim had become one, and a very successful one. But he said he resented it for most of his adult life in his playing career because it was always based on his performance in baseball, and he never truly felt loved by his dad. Jim gave us a book that he and his wife Janet had written, and I want to tell you, this talk, being there for it was eye-opening, and it was gut-wrenching, having very much been that dad. And I could recommend the book for you. You can read it if you like. It's called How to Win at Sports Parenting. It's an older book. I really can't say that it was the book that was such a great impact. It was more about hearing these words from a Major League Baseball player that I'd followed his career, I'd been a fan of as a Texas Ranger fan. But here's just the overview of the book, and even that is challenging. It says, former Kansas City Royal Jim Sundberg and his wife Janet offer sensible and sensitive advice to parents of young athletes. The Sundbergs provide a few shocking anecdotes about hyper-competitive parents whose own insecurities come to rule their children's athletic participation. Ouch. Positive parents, the Sundbergs counter, allow their kids to participate in sports just for fun, cheer them on without performance expectations, console them without reproach, and are always ready to listen. A child's sport should never dominate family life. Your family is the team that should always come first, they write. Man, I was convicted to the core hearing Jim Sundberg share those principles in that camp that day. And I changed some things as well. I stopped being my kid's coach, and I'm not saying everybody should do that. I just knew that as their coach, I was never able to give them the support and encouragement they needed because of my performance expectations. I learned to sit on the sideline and cheer them on a little better. And I wish I could tell you that I never was that dad again who criticized performance or brought up performance expectations and just encouraged them. But the pull of the culture in this area is so strong. And I continued to struggle with that throughout my kids' high school years as they competed in other sports. That God of competitive success is a powerful God. Now, you got a chance here, folks, to tear down the altar to that God. And I don't think you'll miss it, whatever that looks like. What gods will you serve as you come out of quarantine? And then number 3 is this. What idols will you put away? Joshua invited the people, you're going to serve the idols that you've picked up on from Egypt. And I think the balance and the rhythm of the pre-quarantine family, I bet it included some things that you're actually glad to be free of. Like things that you've sat around and thought, man, it's been nice to not have to run to this and run to that and get to that and be overwhelmed by that. So why would you put those back in? I reached out to some of the families in our church and just for some insights and thoughts on how this was affecting them and in preparation for this message. And I got back some great stuff that has been a big part of these past 2 messages. But I want to share with you one quote. Now, I'll do this anonymously. I have permission to. But one of the moms in our church wrote this. Personally, the shutdown has been kind of a relief overall in that it provided extra time together without the rush of school and evening activities. It's been a nice reset for us and provided time for family games, bike rides, one-on-one conversations, and just snuggling kids on the couch way more frequently than in regular life. I'm hoping that this reminder of what's really important carries with us even when normal life picks back up. Wow. That normal, there wasn't room for those things. And folks, if there's some things that you've realized that life is better without because we didn't have them, why in the world would you ever continue to bow before an idol that you don't even like? Why would you let that stay in your lives? And so can I just suggest, as Grandpa Jim, if you will, all right, some one-on-one conversations with your wife about the schedule, the commitments, and then some family conversation with the kids that pave the way to at least deciding about these things and their importance before you go right back to regular life. I mean, you've gone 10 to 12 weeks without some of the activities that dominated your schedule before. Can we at least take time to evaluate how beneficial those were and whether we really want those back in? At least ask the kids, right? Do you want to jump right back in to baseball or basketball or dance or whatever other things you've got on the docket? Or would it be better to spend more time continuing to play family games and ride bikes and snuggle on the couch? Maybe your kids didn't even know those things were options because we've come to accept the rush and the overschedule as the normal. Mom and Dad, man, please at least have this conversation and determine how the schedule got so filled up with activities, many of which don't bring any benefit to your family. You know, the prophet Isaiah, in his prophetic writings, went on a rant at one point about idols. And I know that's not something most of us really have an issue with. In Isaiah's time, he literally said people will take a tree and they'll cut it up and they'll split it up and use part of it for firewood. And then they'll take part of it and carve an image and set it up in their house and worship the image of the same tree that they use part for firewood. And Isaiah said, it just makes no sense. As a matter of fact, he said something so profound and yet incredibly rude in context in Isaiah chapter 44. He says, who but a fool would make his own God, an idol that cannot help him one bit? And folks, why would we allow the pressure of culture to shape the events we're involved in if those events really aren't helping our family one bit? Why would we do that? See, listen, I'm not telling you what activities your kids should or shouldn't be involved in. I have no doubt there are some of the things that are benefit to your family, that bring you joy and togetherness. But if anything is not a benefit, and especially if it's a detriment, why would you keep doing that? And this provides a great opportunity. Have this conversation, man. Determine if there's some idols that you've served for too long. And if there are, build a big old family bonfire and burn those suckers up, man. While you're at it, roast some marshmallows and hot dogs and sing dumb family songs around the campfire and ride your bike and hug the kids. You've got time now because you're not filling up the schedule with all these things that were never really beneficial in the first place. Here's what I'm saying. The impact of this pandemic over the long haul, there's a lot of things that are unknown, you know it? The pundits opine that we've experienced a cultural shift in our world, literally. I don't know if that's an overreaction or not. I think there's going to be some changes, some things that we'll maybe never see again. And if you think that's too much, just look back to 2001. Some guys hijacked some planes and flew them into the Twin Towers. And ever since that moment, you haven't been able to take a bottle of water or fingernail clippers or wear your shoes when you go through checkpoints at security and airlines. The world changed because of those events. I don't know what changes will happen as a result of this pandemic and its impact. But I do know that you parents, you families have got an incredible opportunity to make a paradigm shift in your family that will have a long-term impact and that will make a difference for years and years to come. Take time at least to think through your next steps. Who's going to lead your family to serve God? What gods will you serve? And what idols will you put away? At least think about that before you emerge from being a quarantine family. Let me pray for you. Father, I thank you for this good day. And thank you for these families in this room who have led their family today. I know many of the kids could not be here, but these families have stood firm in their commitment to serve the Lord. Thank you for every family who's watching online. They've gathered their family together in their home and stood firm in their commitment to serve the Lord, set an example for their children, so I praise you for that. And God, I pray that as we think about our commitment to serve you as a family, that we'd ask ourselves these tough questions, questions that the people of Israel were forced to ask 4,000 years ago, that now are just as relevant today about what it'll look like for us to serve you. And if there are some gods and some idols that maybe we've always needed to put away. And I pray that the post-quarantine family will be a stronger, healthier, more fulfilled, more wonderful family than ever before. And I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. 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 Hey, thank you so much again for being with us, for tuning in today. Just a couple things before we wrap up. Next Sunday, you're going to be excited. You're going to get rid of my ugly face, all right? Hey, no applause in the room, man. That is so offensive. And I know you online were probably applauding too. I just don't see it happening. So, but for the next 4 weeks, Pastor Aaron and Pastor JJ are going to tag team a great series called Dangerous Prayers. And man, I'm excited about this series as they challenge us not to pray safe prayers, heal me, watch over me, protect me, keep me safe, but bold prayers as we ask God to use us and lead us for his honor and glory. I'm looking forward to it. I know you will be too. Continue to tune in with us. We're going to continue this schedule. 9:15, we do a live stream. By 11 o'clock, that is available on demand, or you can join us right here. When folks are coming back little by little, there's room for you. We're using an online registration system just to help us balance out the gatherings. Would love for you to do that just so we know you're coming. We're well prepared, but there are seats available as you choose to come back over these next few weeks. I look forward to seeing you. And then I know the big question is, okay, Jim, many of you are ready to come back, but we don't have the ministry for your children yet, and that certainly limits folks from coming back. And so would you, as Aaron said, pray with us about that next step and how we bring the children back safely. Matter of fact, this week, I'm going to send you a survey. Everyone that's in our email list, you'll receive this survey. Would you please take the time to respond to that? It'll help us know kind of where you're at as you process this. And I totally get it, as we've said many, many times. That choice is one I know everyone is going to take seriously and will take at your pace as you feel comfortable. But we're trying to figure out how to best bring the children back, how to serve you best. And so this little survey that you'll receive in the next couple of days will really help us out with that. God bless you. Hope you have a safe and happy and great Memorial weekend, and we'll see you next Sunday.